Today I discovered that my stereo was not working whenever I turned my car on. After closer inspection, I discovered that the 12-volt switching wire, which comes on whenever the car comes on, was not acting right. So I had to run a wire from the battery inside the car so it would get a constant 12 volt instead of running it wherever it was supposed to run. But anyways, I could not find anything on this on the internet after spending quite a bit of time looking for it. So today I'm going to show you how to run a wire from the battery to the inside of a Honda Accord. This should hold true for the years 91 to 93, most likely everything after that, and it's a neat trick for if you need to do this with any other car. A few things I forgot to mention in the first part of my video. You're going to want to disconnect the battery, both terminals, before you start, and this is an 8mm screw. It can be a pain in the ass if you just use a screwdriver. So yeah, disconnect the battery and make sure you have an 8mm socket ready to get that off. Also, inline fuse is going to be 7.5 amps. Make sure that you use that. Don't use a 10, don't use a 15, only use a 7.5 amp. That's the standard for the stereo in this car. Also, when you disconnect the battery, make sure that neither one of the terminals is touching the metal of the car. Even if it's finished, charge can still get through there. So, yeah, just make sure you do all that. Another note, you're going to want 14 or 16 gauge wire. You can go higher than that, but 14 or 16 should suffice. So, do that. Side note, before you go through the trouble of even running the wire, make sure that this fuse right here is not blown. I believe it's 10 amp on all stereos, but it just pulls out and you can see if it's blown. Also, when you're pulling the stereo out, make sure you disconnect the antenna and the power. I don't know if you installed your stereo or not, but the antenna is a bit of a pain. So, I will show you it up with the faceplate on in a moment. You can see the wire starts off as a white wire. I didn't have a long enough wire, but it's white. I have a inline fuse right there, and then it's red and it goes into the car over there. To do this, you run the wire. You'll need at least a 7 or an 8 foot wire. You run it into the fuse box to this terminal right here. It's positive from the battery. And you just unscrew this and you run the wire through this plastic and settle it up under the screw. You can see it at the corner. You run it across here and use zip ties to secure it. You want to run it all the way to the other side. Make sure it's not touching anything metal. This side of the engine doesn't get that hot when it's on, unless you just decide to drive across the country. But you'll see, have a 7.5 amp inline fuse that can be changed out pretty easily. It's tucked in there. You can pull this out. Anyways, so you can see right here where all the wires are going in to there's two of these. There's one here, and there's one on the left side near the passenger footwell, I guess. But that is on the inside. It's covered by just all the AC and stuff. So what you want to do is take a, let me find it. Alright, you want to take a coat hanger or just a piece of galvanized wire. I had a roll of it. And you want to straighten it out and bend the end like this. And you want to put your wire through that hole, kind of like you're threading a needle. It should look about like this. And after that wire is on there, take it off since I already have one going through. You're going to want to stab the end without the wire on it through this rubber gasket right here, and it will come out on the inside underneath the steering column. Right there where you can see the red wire, the coat hanger is up here. And you want to take the wire, pull this all the way through, and take extra care when you're doing that because you don't want to catch any of the other wires on it. So you pull the hanger all the way through and the wire should come with it. If it doesn't, you can just take the wire back out and squeeze it into the coat hanger, make sure it's secure, and then try it again. So after you get the wire through, you want to thread it up, pull this plastic piece from the, it sits right here. You're going to pull that off. There's a screw that goes in right here, and then after that's off, you just pull down. It'll sound like you're breaking it, but you're not. So after that's off, you're going to want to take zip tie and tie the red wire to this, just a few of the wires that are in this cluster to keep it from sagging. Once you do that, you're going to want to run it over, and there's a yellow wire right here. Zip tie it to that, then run it over the top of where that screw hole is. Then you're going to want to run it under here, and you'll see another yellow wire. You can just thread it through here, or you can zip tie it to it. And then you're going to want to feed it through here. You can see my hand. I have everything disassembled. You can see my hand right here. And you're going to grab it and pull it through like that. After you pull it through, just tape it or use an adapter and hook it up to the switching 12 volt, which should be the red wire, not the yellow wire. And your stereo will stay on whenever the car is on. Just make sure you take the faceplate off or turn it all the way off so you don't drain your battery. And that's how you run it. I most likely titled this video 1990 to 1996 Honda Accord. So for the 96, they're made differently. The 96 is a lot easier to get apart. The faceplate here and this are two different pieces, so you don't need to take this whole thing off to get to the stereo. For the 96, there's going to be, it's full right now, but underneath all this, there's going to be a little door. You use a flathead to get the door off, and there should be two screws. Take out this screw, this screw, this screw, and after that, you're going to want to put your key down in here. Make sure the emergency brake is all the way up. Pull it as hard as you can, and put the car in first. After you do that, this comes out. There's another screw down in there. Take those out, and it should pull off. If it doesn't, you most likely missed a screw somewhere. Oh, you also have to pull these out and unwire them. I believe, I haven't taken this one apart in a while, but I believe that there's screws underneath both of these. To get them out, you just take a flathead or the tip of a knife and wiggle it and pull it out. To get this unit out, there's another screw down here, and there's one on the driver's side, right there. I believe that's all of them. If it doesn't pull out, then there may be one underneath the ashtray back here. I'm not sure if there is or not. 1991. You got quite a few screws. You have one here, have one here. You have two, have one here, and you have one here. And in order to get it off, you're going to have to take off the cowling for the steering wheel, which looks like this. There's going to be, it sets up here like this. I'm not going to put it all the way in, but it sets like that to cover up the top of the steering, all those wires and everything. To get that off, you're going to want to unscrew this, and there's one more right here next to the turn signal, and I think that's all of them. Maybe one right here. Yeah, I think that's one. So anyways, that's the location of all the screws for the faceplate, excluding the hidden ones that are down in here. There's also one here and there and here and here, back where all the buttons, the hazards and the light dimmer and everything. So that's the location of all the screws that hold the faceplate on. There are more that hold the console in and hold the covering for the gear shift and everything down. I will show you those in a second. Faceplate on. I mentioned earlier, ensure that this is off. This cowling up here. Adjust the steering wheel. Pull this down. Pull the steering wheel all the way down to its lowest setting. And before you even try to mess with the faceplate, make sure that the console and the gear shift cover is off. I'm doing this video backwards because I'm putting everything back in, but just reverse the order of everything I'm saying. This, ensure that you take note of which screws go in where. If I'm not mistaken, the longer screws go in behind the control buttons, the light dimmer and the cruise control and everything. The shorter screws go in up here where the air vents go. Also, before you even try to take this out, make sure all of your vents are completely closed, because if they're not, the screw is going to come out and it's going to fall back into the AC unit, which is not good. Since I only have one hand to hold the camera, I'm going to go ahead and put the stereo on, and I'm going to put the faceplate on. This right here goes to the cigarette lighter and the lights for the cigarette lighter. If the lights are out, you can unscrew right here, pull this out, and the light should pull out, and you can replace it. So I'm going to go ahead and put the faceplate on. It's pretty self-explanatory. Just After you get it on, make sure that you thread these wires and this wire and these two wires through the holes. Don't put the faceplate on and leave them behind there because you'll have to fish them out. Another quick side note, before you put the faceplate on, you put the emergency brake all the way up. Take your key, put it in here. I'm going to put the phone down for a second because, well, maybe I'll be able to. Hold this down, push this button in, shift it down into first or second, and you should be set. It'll make it a lot easier to get all the parts in there. Another quick note, when you're taking this apart, these screws under here are going to be the last ones that you take out. There's one right here. You're going to have to push this, when you're putting it back in, you're going to have to push this up and to get to the screw hole. These down here support the entire system, and if you don't put those in first, the chances of the plastic here cracking, it cracked on me, the chances of it cracking are going to go up a lot. So if you're taking it out, these are going to be the last ones that you want to put in. If you're putting it back in, these are going to be the first ones that you want to put in, because these will keep all this weight from the head unit and everything else up there from breaking that plastic. Alright, so now that I got the hardest screws in, I'm going to put in the screws up inside the vents and the ones where all the control buttons go. Again, make sure all the vents are closed before you even attempt doing this, because the screws will fall down into the AC ducts. Alright, you're going to want a magnetized screwdriver, because if you don't have one, this can be a giant pain in the ass. Just put the screw on the end of the screwdriver, and it's located towards the corner. I lied, I need both hands for this. 1 second. Alright, I got these two screws in. One in the upper corner up here, and the one in the upper left-hand corner over here. Can't see them because my phone's overheating, so the flash won't work. After you do that, the rear defrost button goes on the right. The hazards button goes on the left. Find the damn thing. Alright, so that's 2 down. Got 6 more to go. The next ones that you're going to want to put in are in this hole right here. You're really going to need a magnetized screwdriver for this one because the screws will fall off as they're going down. But you should be able to see the screw. This one over here, you can clearly see. You're going to have to pull out the tray over there. There's another one in the middle right here. And there's one more up under the cruise control and sunroof control right here. There's one here. Right here. And there's another one right here. So I'm going to go ahead and put all those in. And see you in a second. Alright, I got the screws in the back of the vents and the screws behind the buttons put in. There's two more under here. I pointed them out. And for these, you're going to want to use a short screwdriver. It'll make getting to them a lot easier. If you use a long one, it'll hit and you'll have to go at an angle, but if you use a short one, you can just go straight up and it'll make it a ton easier. So I'm going to go ahead and put those in. Alright, I got those two in. Now I want to put all the buttons and all the AC covers back on. When you take them out, take note of which one goes where and what direction it was in. Right. So for the buttons, it's really simple. You just, they're two different sizes, so if it doesn't fit, then it's the other cable. And for these, same thing, two different sizes. If it doesn't fit, it's the other cable. For the light thing, just plug in, slide it back. Pretty straightforward. Gonna go ahead and do that. Alright, now that all those are in, first thing you're gonna want to put in is the shift cover. This piece. Same as the removal. Slides in. Again, make sure the shifter is not in park. Need two hands to do this, so I'm going to pause the video for a second. Right, after that's in, you're going to have one screw right here, and one screw here. You're going to have to pull the seat all the way back on both sides. Have one screw here, one screw up here. Put those four in. Make sure you remember which four those are. I believe they're different than the ones that are behind the vents and behind the buttons. After you put those four in, you're going to want to grab the console. Put the console in. There's a screw. Try to get a good angle. There's a screw under the bottom one. There's a screw for this too. To get those out, you can stick your hand down through the emergency brake shield and push up. Sorry you can't see. There we go. Stick your hand down through the emergency brake rubber and push up. Do the same on the other side, push up. It's just the two bottom ones, you don't need to worry about the two top ones. And I'm going to go ahead and show you. Screw goes there. You will most likely need a magnetized screwdriver, because those can be a pain to get in because you're going vertically and the screws just keep on falling. There's also a, can't see it. Screw hole right there. There's one in the same spot on the driver's side. So for these, you need to move the seat all the way up to get to them. And I'm going to go ahead and put those in. Alright, I got everything in. As a bit of a bonus, I had to take the glove box out, so I'll show you how to put that back in. There's 3 screws you need to take out. One of them looks like this, the other 2 look like this. This one goes through here, and after you put the glove box up here, you pull this out a little bit and screw it in. There's 2 more screws up under here, one here, and they go in here. Some of the time these screws will be loose, which makes the glove box sit in an angle. If your glove box is sitting in an angle, you might want to tighten these too, up underneath these. hinges, and it will take a little bit of force, but it'll be easier if you take the ones in the bottom off first, so that it's loose and you can just move it around like this. But yeah, once you unscrew the two up under here, you can wiggle it to get it out. Also, make sure you unscrew this because you don't want to break this plastic. This is what makes your glove box go up and down by itself. It's on a little hydraulic pull thing, I guess. Not the right name, but I've been in a 110 degree car all day, so my brain is not working right. But yeah. Alright, that was my video on how to run a power wire from the battery to the stereo. As you can see, my stereo works.
That's a lot of money.
Just make sure whenever you get out of your car, take the faceplate off so you don't drain down your battery. And thanks for watching.